Hello guys, gals, and my non-binary pals. My name is Tyler Michael, pronouns he, him, his, and I am your coach of the Somerville Scraggy. I am so excited to be making this video. This is my first time in the Victory Draft League, which is a competitive VGC draft league. This is also my first time doing competitive Pokemon at all, so I'm hoping to use these videos as a chance to sort of say, hey, I'm a newbie too. This is what it feels like to take my first steps into the league. This is what it feels like to be playing in these battles for the very first time. This is what it feels like to have a full-on gay panic attack during the draft. It's going to be awesome. I am super nervous, but I have plucked my unibrow. I have some sparkling rosé, so we're just going to get through this together, and it's going to be awesome. So, the Victory Draft League is a VGC draft league with 24 coaches. That means there are 24 teams. Each will have a specific 11 Pokemon that they get to pick from. It's sort of like high school soccer picking. Really great, really awful, makes you feel bad, makes the Pokemon feel bad. It is what it is, you know? So I had picked 20 out of 24, and it's a snake. So it means it'll go 1 through 24, then 24 will pick again. Blah, blah, blah. So 20 actually felt pretty good for me because it meant that I didn't have to stress out about picking in the early stages where all the great Pokemon are. And it meant that some of my picks were really close together, so I got to pick things that worked really well together. So we're just going to dive into what I've learned watching a bunch of videos and seeing other people watching the WBE, watching a lot of other online folks do, and where my strategy came from. So there are sort of 4 things I'm going to be focusing on in this draft. First is speed control. Speed control is king. It is how these battles get won. And speed control doesn't always mean going faster. It also sometimes means going slower. It also sometimes doesn't even mean setting those speeds up, but being able to fight in them. So looking for a team that can go fast, can go slow, can be in the middle, can have a lot of versatility there. Number 2, like all good gay men, I am looking for versatility. This is Draft League, so every week your opponent knows exactly which Pokemon you have. So if you have Pokemon that only have very specific sets, then you're gonna struggle. And so I wanted to find Pokemon that I felt had a lot to offer. Different abilities, different sets, different coverages, things like that. So I could always have my opponent guessing on what was gonna come next. Number 3 is synergy, which is the most vague word in the entire world. And sometimes when other people are like, your team has such great synergy, I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't know what the frick you're talking about, but sure. And so what synergy meant for me is basically saying what pairs or triplets, trios, threesomes of Pokemon can I put together that work really well together, that either cover each other's weaknesses really well or enhance each other's strengths in a way that make them really difficult to deal with. The 4th is typing variety. You only have 11 Pokemon and you don't get to change them besides a few trades, so you want to have a variety, not just for defensive purposes, but also for that stab coverage move. You want to be able to say, stab coverage, not what I meant. Your stab moves and your coverage moves. You want to have Pokemon that have a wide variety of moves so that you can get the best positioning for super effective hits on everyone else. The final thing I am actually focusing on is just not caring too much. Like, I was super stressed out. Everyone seemed like they knew what they were doing. They knew each other. They've done this before. And so my goal was to say, hey, I'm just in it to have some fun. And also, like, between some of my picks, there are like 40 picks, so I can't plan ahead. I can't be too upset if something gets picked. It is what it's going to be. So that's sort of what I'm focusing on. We're going to dive into why I think I actually succeeded really well and why I am super excited for my team. So let's talk about the draft. So there are 11 Pokemon you get. They're tiered based on how good some people perceive them to be. Everyone gets 1 Gigantamax, 1 tier 1, 2 tier 2s, 2 tier 3s, a tier 4, and then free picks up to 250 points. So that tends to break down to either 2 tier 1s and 2 tier 4s, or another 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on how you want to split it. Or just like all tier 4s, live your life, do what you want. You can underspend, can't overspend. So I went into this draft with two picks in mind. I knew what I wanted first, and I knew what I wanted second. So we're going to succeed and get both of those picks, which is awesome. So my first pick of the VDL, my very first draft league, is Whimsicott. Whimsicott is amazing. It is such a great Pokemon. Why I wanted it is because it is the ultimate support mon. It gets Prankster, which lets all its non-attacking moves get priority. So you get Prankster Tailwind, Prankster Worry Seed, Prankster Taunt. You get Tickle, you get Charm, you get Fake Tears. There's so much that this Pokemon does. It's sort of an embarrassment of riches. Every single week, it can come with something new, and the opponent has no idea what's going on. So that's super great. Also, Whimsicott's a queer legend. Also, it gets Fairy and Grass, which are sort of two types that are really great to have in the league. So I'm super excited to have Whimsicott. I think it's going to do great things. It's going to build up speed when I need it. It also gets Trick Room if I want to slow things down. It also gets Misty and Grassy terrain, so if I have an opponent that's thriving in a terrain, I can swap it up on them. So excited. Great first pick. Great versatility. It's going to be awesome. And to pair with Whimsicott, I picked Dracovish. Dracovish is wild. It is stupidly strong. It has Strong Jaw. It has Vicious Rend. Those two together are one of the most powerful water-type moves that exist. I also focused on Dracovish because it is a Pokemon that can succeed out of Dynamax. When you're looking at Draft League and you're stuck with some of those Tier 3 and 4 Mons, those are ones that are going to succeed only in Dynamax, so I wanted to have my Tier 1 Pokemon be ones that I didn't always have to Dynamax. That, in fact, were better not Dynamaxed, and I think Dracovish is great for that. It also gets Sand Rush now, so it can go even faster in the sand. That plus Vicious Rend means you can go Adamant, you can go Choice Band and just wreck things. It's also a great speed at 75, so you can double it with Tailwind or Sand. You can slow it down with an Iron Ball for Trick Room. It's so great. It also has like really great coverage moves, which we forget because it's not just a Vicious Rend machine. It's got some other things going on, but I'm excited for it. So going on to pick 3 is sort of when I was flying free. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't have a plan beyond these two. So I looked at what I had and I said, great, I have a great physical attacker. I want to pair it with a great special attacker. I want something that can hit hard, that's dual type, to have double stab. And so I picked up another free pick of mine, so sort of burning all 3 of my Tier 1s, but feeling good about it. Rhodum Heat. Rhodum Heat is so good. It is really popular in the series right now. It has Overheat, it has Thunderbolt, it gets you screens if you want screens, it gets you Ally Switch, it has Levitate to sort of prevent those ground type moves from hitting you. I think it pairs super well with Dracovish. It's in this weird speed tier, so the Tailwind from Whimsicott is super helpful. The Fake Tears from Whimsicott is super helpful. I just think these 3 are fantastic first picks. I felt really good about it. I felt like I had a lot of versatility, ways to hit hard, ways to play defensively. So my next pick is when I started thinking about synergy. I sort of said, great, I have these 3. I have a really great fast mode. What's something that can synergize and also slow things down? And that is Gigalith. Gigalith is a beast. Has Sandstream, so it sets up sand for my Dracovish, speeding it up. Deadly combo, so I don't even need the Tailwind. I also love Sand as a weather mode because that chip damage can stop focus sashes. It boosts the special defense of this Gigalith, so it has a fantastic defense and ridiculous special defense with it. It's also fucking slow. It is so slow, which is awesome because if you want to put me in Trick Room or I can put myself in Trick Room, you're going to have a hard time with this. Especially in a world of Dynamax, Gigalith can just sit on the stage and cause serious mayhem. So, great pick. Feel good about it. I also have some other shenanigans I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to keep that to myself for now. You'll see it soon. So that's 4 picks. I hit pick 4 and I was just like flying high, living the dream, not sleeping because that's how my brain works. And then started thinking, great, what do I need now to sort of fill in this world? So I felt good. I had a great support mon and 3 great attackers, and though Rhodum can be a little bit supportive, so I wanted another support mon. And I've sort of just been going down up. I've been ignoring my Gigantamax because I just was like, no need to worry about it. I picked Alolan Persian. Alolan Persian, besides Whimsicott, in my mind, is one of the strongest support Pokemon in this entire series. It is super fast. I think it's 1 point below Whimsicott at 115, especially in this world, is going to do a lot fast. It gets Quash, it gets Snarl, it gets Parting Shot, it gets Fake Out support. I sort of was thinking about building my Trick Room mode next, and I wanted that Fake Out to get that Trick Room going, and Alolan Persian just covers it. It eats physical moves super well. The Dark type prevents Psychic types from hitting it. It's got Icy Wind support to support the Dracovish and the Rhodum. Rhodum speed's a little low, so that Icy Wind is so helpful, and that Dracovish just eats things up if it hits first. I love this mon. I can't believe it was still around. I think, honestly, my team is looking like a legitimate team right now, not even a draft team, so that felt super good. Leaving this, I sort of went, all right, it's time for my Trick Room mode. I had been eyeing one for a little bit. I really wanted a Trick Room Pokemon that was not just Trick Room. I didn't want it to just sit there and get Trick Room, because if you could taunt it, then I was freaking doomed. So I went with Exeggutor. Exeggutor, in my mind, is so good. It covers number 1 really well, which is speed. This thing is slow at base 55, but it gets Chlorophyll, which can double its speed. So you can run an Exeggutor in Sun that goes super well, which pairs with Whimsicott hitting Sunny Day, or just an opponent that's going to set the sun for me, or Rhodum Dynamaxing. Super great. It also gets Harvest and can be super bulky and slow in Trick Room. So I think bringing it each week, my opponent's going to have to figure out, what is this Exeggutor doing? Is it setting up Trick Room? Is it trying to beat me in the sun? Is it going to Sleep Powder me? Is it going to Dynamax and just wreck me with some really great grass moves? Like, what is it doing? And so I think that felt like a really wonderful piece for me. It gave me a Trick Room if I wanted it. It also gave me something to sort of fake out that Trick Room. And so that felt good. So we're rocking it. We're gliding along. This is, one thing I will say is Exeggutor is another grass type, and I already have one. How I sort of justified that in my mind is that fire types is sort of the biggest thing I'm worrying about. Gigalith, Rhodum, and Dracovish can eat up those fire moves. So I'm not too concerned about the double grass coverage, because I know I have things to help me on the other side. Sweet. Now it is time. I sort of gone through. I felt really great about that. My next pick is Stoutland. I had been eyeing Stoutland for a while. However, I was looking around at what other people had, what picks they had left, and I felt good saving Stoutland for a little bit. I picked this here because it was going back up, and I knew someone else had a sand team on the other way. So I was like, great, you're not really going to have a Stoutland out of sand. You could, but it's really useful in sand, so I'm going to bank on getting it later. And I got it. Stoutland is another incredible mon. It gets, as we're talking speed, it gets Sand Rush, so it can go real fast. It also gets Intimidate if I want to do an Intimidate version of Stoutland. It gets crazy coverage. This thing covers all sorts of things. It gets all the Fang moves, which are sort of weak in their existence, but if you Dynamax them, those things are going to do real damage. You can run Assault Vest on Stoutland. You can run a full support set on Stoutland. Stoutland gets a wide variety of support moves. It gets your Helping Hands, your After Use, things like that. So I think Stoutland is one that my opponent's going to have a hard time with, because it's going to be on the field and you're not going to know if it's going to Dynamax and just punch you in the face, or if it's going to sit back and be a support Pokemon. And I think I'm excited to explore both throughout the league and what it can do. And it pairs with that Gigalith super well. It's just super great. And I love normal typing. It's super great. It's only weak to fighting. I'm excited about it. So this team is just chef kiss. Feeling good about it. So the next pick I had been eyeing as well, and finally decided, you know what, before this thing gets snagged, I'm going to take it now, and that is my Gigantamax pick, which is Butterfree. So when I was thinking about Gigantamax and looking at how everything was, I sort of was like, you know what, I'm not going to get a super strong Gigantamax Mon, and that's okay. A lot of them are picking early, and I have other things that synergize better with my team or fit better with what I'm going for. And the thing about Gigantamax is that I don't have to Gigantamax it every time. It's sort of just an extra free Pokemon you get to have on your team. And so I have Butterfree, which is great for two reasons. One, it gets Rage Powder, which redirects attacks, and it gets Sleep Powder, which puts things to sleep. Here's the thing about Butterfree, is I'm not going to bring it every week, but that Rage Powder is still important enough that my opponent's going to have to prep for it, which means chances are one of their 6 items is going to be a pair of safety goggles. And if they're wearing safety goggles and I don't bring Butterfree, that's one less item I have to worry about on my opponent's side. It'll be hard to figure out that they have it, but it's not going to be like screwing with me on the other end. I also can Gigantamax this. Gigantamax Befuddle is a great sort of Hail Mary play if I need it. If I'm feeling like my matchup is really poor or what I'm facing is really terrible, I can sort of roll the dice and say, great, poison or paralyze or sleep something, please. It's not the most glorious way to play Pokemon, but a win is a win, and Gigantamax Butterfree is a way to a win often. Great. So these are my 8 that I feel incredible about. What's left for me is 3 tier 4s. Since I picked 2 tier 1s, I have to pick 2 more tier 4s with my free slots. There's differing opinions on if you should do a 1, 2, 3, and 4 or 2 1s and 2 4s. I felt really good about the ones I wanted, and I knew I could get some mileage out of the 4s that I saw on the list. What I focused on with 4s is synergy in specific situations. So the 3 I got in tier 4 are ones that are not going to be brought every week, but they are going to be brought in very specific situations against very specific opponents to do 1 or 2 jobs and get me the win. And I feel great about the ones I got. So the first one I grabbed was Haunter. Haunter's a steal in tier 4. It's got a base 96 speed, 95 speed. It's pretty fast. It has an incredible move pool. It can set up Trick Room. It can shut down someone else's Trick Room. You get a Taunt. You get Icy Wind. You get Disable. I think there's a lot that this Haunter can do. It also pairs nicely with Stoutland. If I'm worried about a fighting attack going into a bulky Stoutland, I can switch in Haunter to eat that, or even just the fear of that may make my opponent not throw a fighting move into Stoutland, so it sort of helps that a lot. It's got the elemental punches. You can set off a weakness policy on Exeggutor with a fire punch. It's got a lot going on. I feel good about it. Can also Dynamax. It's got a base 115 special attack, and that poison, which increases special attack next to an Exeggutor or a Rhodum Heat, can really just cause big mayhem for my opponent. The next one I grabbed is Girder. I love Girder. He's super great. Big muscles, feeling buff, amazing. I picked Girder for 2 reasons. Girder's slow. It's a base 40 speed, and when I was looking at my team, I sort of had a lot of fast things going on, and I wanted something slow if I found myself against an opponent that was going to put me in Trick Room, and Girder absolutely covers that. It also, looking at a lot of my mons, they're physical, and I am concerned about being burned, and so I can run Girder with like a choice band and toss it into a Will-O-Wisp and give it guts so that it just becomes stronger. It basically eats up that burn and then gets stronger with it. It's got great coverage. It's got Mach Punch if I want to do a weakness policy on Gigalith. It's got Wide Guard if I want to sort of protect from spread moves. I feel really good about it. I'm excited to use it. I think it's going to round things out really nicely. And then my final pick of the VDL is Clang. I wanted a Steel type. A lot of the ones there were terrible or just not there anymore. I almost grabbed Mawile really early because I was like, this thing is ridiculous with wild stats. And then realized after 5 hours that I had been looking at its Mega Evolution stats and not base Mawile. Oops. Clang's great. It's got a base 55 speed. It's got some really nice bulk if you stick an Eviolite on it. It, with a lot of my strategy, is about going fast or going slow. It can double its speed with, oh gosh, Gear Up? Gear Grind? Ooh, I can't remember what it's called. But that's a threat, right? So I can have Clang in Trick Room. I can have Clang speed up. Gear Grind is really great against Focus Sashes. It's got a lot going for it. It is really situational, but I already see a couple of battles that I think it could do pretty well. So that's my team. I feel great. The one thing we're just going to look at is sort of something I've been alluding to is our speeds. So here's our 11. We have 16 out of the 18 types are only doubling as grass. And look at these speeds. 25, 40, 50, 55, 70, 75, 80, 86, 95, 115, 116. And the 3 that are yellow can all be doubled in the right weather. What's great about how spread out this is, it's going to be really hard for my opponent to plan specific speeds against my team, because if I bring something at 70, 80, and 86, it is not easy to just say, we're just going to beat 86, because you're going to have to invest in speed a lot and lose in bulk or power. I also have enough slow things with Gigalith and Girder and Clang and Exeggutor that I feel great, and even a Stoutland or a Dracovish with an Iron Ball can do some real damage. So I feel super great about that. So that's our team. This is the Somerville Scraggy. This is the 11 we've got going on. I'm so lucky to be in this league. I've gotten great support from the other folks in the league. They really like my team. It made me feel really great. We're going to see what happens. We actually have our first battle tomorrow. I've got it planned. I've got it ready. I've run some calcs. I'm going to just see what happens. And I'm going to eat lots of snacks, and it's going to be great. That's all I have to say, friends. I know this was a little long, but I had a lot to say. Any questions or concerns, let me know. If you want to follow the Scraggies as we battle through, join us. And I will see you next week. Cheers.